And I am kind of breaking a rule by talking about. I mean, not like an official one, but I said before I didn't really want to talk about news in situations where there's really nothing that I feel I can add because, or not nothing I can add, but where basically everyone else is talking about it already and people can hear that anywhere else. But I want to talk about it now because, well, for one, I feel like less people are talking about it than they might have been last week, and also just because I don't know, I felt I had some things to say about it, so we'll get into that. But I didn't cover it last week in part because, well, I just kind of didn't. I forgot it was happening. I mean, I knew that it was happening at some point, but I forgot it was happening that week. But now that they have fought, I thought I'd talk about it because there's only so much you can say when it's like a hypothetical. But now that it's happened, it's I guess better to talk about it. But anyway, yeah, Jake Paul got what he desperately, wanted, which he really, really wanted. He didn't really want to do it, but I don't know why. But it happened, and he fought Mike Tyson. And yeah, like most people, I mean, I think Jake Paul sucks and was hoping he'd lose. But when fighting a man over double his age, I feel like we all kind of knew he'd win. I mean, I predicted he would win. I think didn't know quite a few people predicted he would lose, and I was surprised by that because I mean, at the end of the day, Mike Tyson's old as hell, and hell, the last fight he was in like 2006 or whatever, he lost that, and he was much younger then. So yeah, as much as we all want to root for him, it was pretty obvious he was going to lose. And an interesting thing to notice is there was kind of a bad omen before the fight even started, which everyone else kind of talked about. But in one of the pre-interviews, Mike Tyson kissed the reporter on the cheek after they were finished, and then he walked off wearing trunks that, honestly, from the back looked like a thong because they exposed his entire just bare ass cheeks. So I don't know what the hell Mike was thinking with that, but he basically exposed his elderly ass to 100 million people. I mean, I guess with all the money he made, though, he can't feel too bad about it. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I would do that for as much money as he made. So okay, I guess it's not a real big deal. I guess, but not to be rude to the guy, I guess. But Mike Tyson's probably the real chump in this whole thing because I mean he decided to fight Jake Paul and legitimize his joke of a boxing career for I think what $20 million, which I don't know. You can there's a lot worse ways to make $20 million, but whatever. I mean, I guess again, not that I wouldn't take it, but I feel bad for him that he kind of this is always going to be on his reputation. Like, I think his record is what 50 something wins, like 6 losses. But it doesn't matter that your wins far outnumber your losses, brother. I mean, at this your losses are one of them was to the it's everyday bro guy. So that's it's something you're gonna have to live with, unfortunately. Now, I wasn't really originally planning to watch the fight, and again, I even on the day of, I thought it was on Saturday, on Friday. I didn't know until around when it was happening that it was that day, but I did watch part of it mostly because it was free, and because if it wasn't, I wouldn't be watching that crap. I wouldn't have paid for it. But there were also like 8 undercards before the fight. Now, I'm not really into boxing, so I don't know if that's normal. But I mean, I just gotta be honest. I don't see the point in that. I mean, I get the idea of an undercard. I get the idea of a couple undercards, but that many because at that point it's not even is the focus really on the fight at all. The main fight when there's like 8 other fights happening. I mean, I guess it's a good thing though because I did watch some of the undercards and they were probably the real entertainment. Well, besides Mike Tyson flashing his ass to the camera, that was the most entertaining part. Besides that, those were the most entertaining parts of the undercards. They were a lot better. I felt so, but was it really necessary to have that many? I don't know. Maybe I guess, but speaking of that, I guess a lot of people weren't even able to watch the fight because Netflix kept crashing from how many people were watching, and it was like overloading the servers. Now, I got to be honest, I was surprised that many people cared about this. But not only did that many people care about that it would crash the server, but it was sold. An 80,000 seat stadium was sold out. Like, I don't know what it says about the planet that a third of the country watched a douchebag YouTuber beat up an old man, but that's apparent entertainment to us. Apparently, because like I said, it was about 100 million people at the time. So yeah, I guess that's considered great entertainment to this world, I guess. Well, I mean, again, I don't think it was that big of a surprise that Jake Paul won, especially considering the fact that last time Mike Tyson fought someone when he was still young, nearly 20 years ago, he still lost. But I will say, I mean, I give him credit that I feel like maybe he didn't win the fight, but in terms of just who comes out of this looking the best, I'd probably give it to him because, you know, he's the fact that, he couldn't make this a knockout, Jake couldn't, and he just really barely beat Mike Tyson by decision, and Mike Tyson's that old, kind of makes this a win for Mike Tyson. So I don't know, if I was Mike, I'd be happy with it, frankly. I mean, and I got the $20 million, so that's not too bad either. I mean, it's kind of like I'm going to compare this to a movie, I guess, which I don't know why, because this is real life. But if you look at the Rocky Balboa movie, the one where he's really old, he comes out of retirement to fight the new heavyweight champ and just barely loses. I mean, it was still a happy ending, so I don't know. I guess it can be here too. I mean, I guess the guy who Rocky lost to wasn't like a guy in a clown costume like it basically was with Mike Tyson, but still. And it was also kind of funny that the crowd was completely on Mike's side when you like listened to them. And they chanted his name a few times, and they only really cheered when he made his entrance. And they booed Jake. Although I guess it kind of makes sense also because Mike's entrance was way better because he came out second. Jake Paul came out in a car with his brother, and they were like spraying their weird like cologne in the air and all that. Mike just came up by himself, not like smiling or anything, just walking to the arena, and people were just cheering him. That was pretty badass. So just based on optics alone, Mike's was better. I guess apparently I haven't seen a lot of the old Mike Tyson fights, but I guess that was how he used to come out back then too, just walking out without a bunch of like fanfare or anything. So that's pretty badass of Mike, I'll be honest. And it seems the only problem is when we're talking about uh, the fact that when we're talking about comparing it to a movie, it seems like it is kind of like a movie, but we got the sad ending of this fight instead of the happy one. So I don't know if you need any more evidence with everything going on in the world. We really are in the worst timeline right now. And it's also interesting to see that, according to Yahoo Entertainment, where I found this, many fans started walking out after the second round when it became clear Mike was losing. So that many people really just showed up because they wanted to see Mike Tyson possibly kill Jake Paul. I mean, not that I'm surprised at that, but yeah, I mean, if I was going there, it would be for Mike Tyson, not for Jake Paul. So I guess I'm on their side with that. And the crazy thing is, when you really look at it, like I'm not a fan of Mike Tyson really in any capacity. I mean, he's a convicted rapist. But at the end of the day, I mean, I, as well as the rest of the world, just wanted to see him kick Jake Paul's ass, and that really just speaks to how unlikable Jake Paul is. That he's the bad guy in the situation. When you watch the actual fight, I know there's a lot of talk about was it rigged or not, and I don't think it was just because I mean, who would? I mean, I really don't think they were that confident in that they would say. Well, first of all, if it was Mike Tyson, I would never agree for any amount of money to lose in a fight to Jake Paul. So that I disagree with. And then also, I mean, at the same time, Mike Tyson, I don't think it's that really surprising what happened. I mean, unless there were that many people who were that shocked that Mike Tyson lost to Jake Paul. And again, if you told me this like 20 years ago, well, if Jake Paul was a thing then I would be surprised too. But at the end of the day, I mean, is it really that surprising that a guy lost to someone half his age? I mean, even if he was the former heavyweight champion of the world, is it really that surprising? I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's not a lot to say about it, other than the fact that Jake Paul gets to spend the rest of his life saying he beat Mike Tyson in a fight, which is something they were saying after the fight. They were talking about that, so that's cool. That's kind of depressing. But I feel like the most depressing thing here is that because when you look at it, Jake Paul, okay, he can spend the rest of his life saying he beat up elderly Mike Tyson who could barely come here because of a health condition he was having during the summer. So okay, yeah, that's something to really brag about, I guess. But the most depressing part is Mike Tyson has to live the rest of his life saying he lost a fight to Jake Paul, to the It's Everyday Bro guy. I know I keep calling him that. That's not what he is anymore, but that's what he's always going to be remembered for. So that's what Mike has to live with. So yeah, that's let that sink in for a bit because that might be one of the most depressing statements that I've ever heard in my life.